Welcome to Honeybee. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. I still remember the exact moment her words shattered my world. The evening was quiet, filled with the soft glow of our living room lamps and the faint hum of rain outside. We were supposed to be finalizing details for our wedding. The seating chart, the flowers, the playlist for our first dance. It should have been one of those tender, shared moments that couples cherish before the big day. But instead, it became the night I realized a woman I loved was never really mine. Her name was Elena, the woman I had imagined building a future with, the one I believed loved me the way I loved her. We had been together for nearly 4 years, and I thought we had weathered every storm life threw at us. I supported her through her struggles, celebrated her victories, and dreamed of our life together. I genuinely believed that what we had was real, unshakable, and mutual. But I was wrong. That night, something felt off from the moment I walked in. She sat on the couch, her shoulders stiff, her eyes distant. I asked if everything was all right, but she didn't answer right away. There was a long silence, the kind that crawls into your bones. Then she whispered something that didn't make sense at first. "I can't do this anymore," she said softly, her voice trembling. "Do what?" I asked, my heart already tightening. "Us, this wedding. I can't marry you." For a moment, I thought she was just anxious, cold feet, the kind many people get before marriage. So I tried to reassure her. I told her it was okay to feel nervous, that we'd take it slow, that love would carry us through. But she shook her head and started crying. And then came the words that broke everything inside me. "I never wanted to marry you. I've always wanted him." At first, I didn't even process it. My mind froze. I just stared at her, waiting for her to take it back, to say she didn't mean it, that it was something said in frustration. But the tears in her eyes weren't the kind that came from guilt. They were the kind that come from years of buried truth finally escaping. I felt a deep, cold ache spread through my chest. "What do you mean him?" I asked quietly. She couldn't look at me. She stared at the floor, her hands trembling as she tried to form words. "Daniel," she whispered. "I've loved him since before you and I ever met." Daniel, her old friend, the one she swore was just like a brother, the one she said I didn't need to worry about. My gut had warned me more than once, but love makes you ignore instincts. I trusted her, because that's what love is supposed to mean. My heart started pounding so hard it hurt. I felt dizzy, like the world was spinning, and I couldn't keep my footing. "You told me you two were just friends," I said, my voice shaking. "We were at first," she said, crying harder now. "He moved away for work, and I thought I could move on. Then I met you. You were kind, stable, and I told myself I could love you the way you deserved. I really tried. But when Daniel came back, I realized I never stopped loving him." Every word stabbed deeper. Each syllable stripped away the illusion I had lived under for years. "So, this whole time," I whispered, trying to hold myself together, "this engagement, the planning, everything, was it just a lie?" "No," she said quickly, reaching for my hand, but I stepped back. "I cared about you. I do care about you. I thought I could bury those feelings. I thought I could make this work. But pretending is destroying me, and it's not fair to you." Her words, meant to sound noble, felt like knives. She was ending our engagement to follow her heart, while mine was being ripped apart. The rain outside grew heavier, tapping against the windows like the world itself was echoing my pain. I tried to breathe, to stay calm, but my mind was a storm. I thought of every memory we had shared. The trips, the laughter, the quiet mornings when she'd rest her head on my chest. Were all of those just fragments of a lie? I walked to the window and stared at the rain. "Does he know?" I asked after a long silence. She hesitated, then nodded. "We talked last week. He said he still feels the same way. And I realized I can't marry you when my heart belongs to someone else." That was it. The final blow. The woman I was ready to give my life to had already chosen another man. I turned around, unable to hide the tears that burned behind my eyes. Do you even realize what you're saying? I asked. We've built a life together. We've made promises. And now, days before our wedding, you're telling me you're in love with someone else. I know, she sobbed. I'm sorry. I didn't want it to end like this. For a while, neither of us spoke. The silence stretched, filled only by the sound of rain. I could see her crying, trembling with guilt or maybe confusion. But not regret, and that's what hurt the most. She wasn't sorry for loving him. She was only sorry for hurting me. I finally said, "You should go." She looked up, startled. "What?" "Pack your things and leave tonight," I said. "You made your choice. I won't stand in the way, but I can't watch you stay here pretending to love me." She tried to argue, to explain more, but I couldn't bear another word. I turned away, walking down the hallway as her quiet sobs filled the room. When I reached the bedroom, I sat on the edge of bed, the bed we had shared for years, and felt an emptiness I had never known before. The future I had been planning vanished in a single night. The house, once filled with laughter, felt like a stranger's place now. I heard her moving in the living room, gathering her things. Her crying turned to quiet sniffles, and then the sound of the door opening. She hesitated for a moment. I could hear her soft whisper, "I really am sorry," and then the door clicked shut. The silence that followed was unbearable. It felt like the world had stopped. I sat there for hours, numb, staring at the ring that was supposed to represent forever. The same ring I had chosen with so much love and hope. Now it felt like a cruel joke. That night, I didn't sleep. I replayed every moment of our relationship, trying to find the signs I'd missed. The late-night texts she claimed were from her cousin, the sudden change in her moods, the times she seemed distant but brushed it off as work stress. It all made sense now. The truth is, love blinds us. We see what we want to see, not what's real. And now, sitting there in the ruins of everything I believed in, I realized something painful but true. Sometimes you can give someone all the love in the world, but it will never be enough if their heart belongs elsewhere. That night marked the end of our story. But I didn't know then that it was also the beginning of my healing. The next morning, I woke to silence. A kind of silence that didn't just fill the room but press against my chest, making it hard to breathe. Her side of the bed was empty, untouched, but her scent lingered faintly on the pillow. For a few seconds, my sleepy mind almost forgot what had happened the night before. Then the memories came flooding back. Her tears, her confession, the sound of the door closing behind her. It felt unreal, like a bad dream that refused to end. I got up, walked through the house, and everything reminded me of her. The half-finished coffee mug on the counter, the wedding invitations stacked neatly on the table, the framed photo of us at the beach, laughing like two people who thought love was enough. I picked up that photo and stared at it for a long time. The happiness on our faces looked genuine. Maybe it was once. But now, it felt like looking at strangers. I put the photo face down and sat at the kitchen table, trying to make sense of what to do next. There's no guidebook for how to move on when the person you were ready to marry tells you she's always loved someone else. You just exist in the wreckage. The hours blurred together. I didn't eat. I didn't call anyone. I didn't even cry anymore. I was just empty. By evening, my phone buzzed with a message from her. "I'm sorry for everything. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just couldn't keep living a lie." I stared at the screen for a long time. A part of me wanted to reply, to ask her why, to demand an explanation, to hear something that would make the pain make sense. But deep down, I already knew the answer. Love can't be forced. You can't convince someone to feel what they don't. So I deleted the message without replying. That night, I went through our things, her clothes, the gifts I'd given her, the letters she'd written. I found the scrapbook we made together when we first started dating, filled with photos, notes, and promises of forever. I flipped through it slowly, page by page, and for the first time, I allowed myself to cry. Not out of anger, but grief for the future that would never come. Days passed like that. I went to work, smiled when I had to, and acted as if everything was fine. But inside, I was falling apart. My friends noticed something was wrong, but I couldn't bring myself to talk about it. How do you tell people that the person you loved most looked you in the eyes and told you she'd always love someone else? Weeks later, I heard through mutual friends that Elena and Daniel were together. Apparently, she moved in with him not long after leaving me. I'd like to say I was shocked, but I wasn't. Deep down, I had already accepted it the night she walked out. Still, hearing it felt like another knife twist. Not because I wanted her back, but because it proved that what we had wasn't just broken. It was replaced. For a while, I hated them both. I won't lie about that. I hated her for deceiving me, and I hated him for taking what I thought was mine. But hate doesn't last. It's exhausting, and it eats away at whatever strength you have left. Eventually, it turns into something quieter. Acceptance. It took time. A lot of it. I started going on long walks in the evenings, just to clear my mind. Sometimes I'd end up at the park where we used to sit and talk for hours. The first few times, it hurt too much to stay there. But slowly, as the weeks turned into months, I started to see things differently. I realized that maybe she wasn't the villain I wanted her to be. She was human, confused, scared, and trapped between guilt and longing. That doesn't excuse what she did, but it made me see that her truth didn't erase my worth. Loving someone who can't love you back doesn't make you foolish. It makes you real. One evening, about 6 months after she left, I ran into her unexpectedly. It was at a small bookstore downtown. She was standing in one of the aisles, holding a book, and for a moment, she didn't see me. When she finally looked up, our eyes met. Her expression froze. Then she smiled a weak, awkward smile and said, "Hey!" I nodded. "Hey!" We stood there, two people who used to share everything, now strangers trying to find polite words. "You look good," she said softly. "So, do you?" I replied, though I wasn't sure if it was true. She looked tired, a little older somehow, like life had been heavy on her shoulders. We talked for a few minutes, just small talk about work, family, and mutual friends. Then she said something that caught me off guard. "I want to tell you that I'm sorry. Truly, I know I said it before, but I mean it now. You didn't deserve what I did." I looked at her for a long time before answering. Maybe not, but I think we both learned something from it. She nodded slowly, tears forming in her eyes. "I hope you find someone who loves you the way you deserve. Someone who never makes you doubt." I smiled faintly. "I hope you find peace too." And that was it. We said goodbye and went our separate ways. I never saw her again after that. As I walked out of the store that day, I realized something powerful. I wasn't angry anymore. The pain had dulled, replaced by a strange kind of calm. I finally understood that some people enter your life to teach you what love isn't, so that when the right person comes along, you'll recognize what love truly feels like. Time moved forward. Seasons change. I started focusing on myself again, the things I had forgotten in the chaos of trying to hold on to someone who was never meant to stay. I traveled, met new people, learned new skills, and slowly rebuilt the parts of me that had broken. One day, while sitting at a cafe reading, I overheard a couple laughing nearby. Their laughter reminded me of how love should feel, effortless, warm, alive. And for the first time, instead of sadness, I felt hope. Love hadn't failed me. It had simply redirected me. Looking back now, I see that losing Elena wasn't the end of my story. It was a turning point. I had to go through that heartbreak to learn the most important lesson of all. When someone walks away, it's not always a loss. Sometimes, it's life making space for something far better. Years later, I did meet someone new. Someone who didn't make me question my worth. Someone who loved me not because I fit a mold, but because of who I was. And when I looked into her eyes, I didn't see uncertainty. I saw peace. So yes, my fiancé once cried and confessed, "I never wanted to marry you. I've always wanted him." At the time, those words destroyed me. But now, I see them differently. They were not the end of my happiness. They were the beginning of my freedom. Because sometimes, the truth that breaks you is the same truth that sets you free.